Welcome back everyone to the highlight video of round number 5 of the Mitropa Cup. First of all, we are again having a look at the results of round number 5, and then for today I want to show you two pretty nice attacking games, one out of the open section and one out of the women's section. Let's start with the results of round number 5. First of all, with the women's section, Switzerland won 3.5 to 1/2 against Croatia, 2-2 between Slovenia and Slovakia. France losing 0.5 point to 3.5 to Italy. I think that Italy now is one of the leading teams. If I'm not wrong, let's go then also to the standings after we have a look at this, just to see who is leading. Austria played 2-2 against the Czech Republic, and Ukraine won 4-0 against Germany. Now let's have a look at who is leading in the women's section. So Ukraine is still leading, but only by 1 point in front of Italy. So as I said in the beginning of the tournament, Ukraine is definitely the one team who is probably most likely to win the event, since they have the strongest lineup. Austria on the 7th place, still some air to improve. I mean, a couple of matches were pretty good, but a couple of them were also quite unfortunate. So I am pretty sure that they want to improve their standing. I think top 5 placement would be pretty nice for Team Austria in the very end, if they could manage to achieve that. Now let's go to the open section. As you can see, the results here: Switzerland winning pretty high against Croatia. Slovenia, Slovakia 2.5 for Slovenia, and France winning against Italy. That was a pretty important match. Luca Moroni, who is, I'm not sure he's the highest rated. Actually, he's not the highest rated in the event, but definitely one of the most experienced, and I think the player with the highest peak rating, winning his game against France's board number 1. But the match was decided on board 2 and 3 in favor of France. So I think France is still in the driver's seat to win the whole event by quite a margin, but we'll see that in a second. Next match, which I was paying very close attention to, was Austria against the Czech Republic, which was incredibly unfortunate for us. Lucas played a great game, which we're also going to have a look at in a second. Peter Balland on board 2 was in a lot of trouble after making a few positional mistakes, but in the end he was able to make a draw, so this board was quite shaky for us. But what was really unfortunate was board number 3, Laurens Bormann, who is not having an event according to his normal strength. Blundered in a, I would say, completely winning position. Of course, it was not like a blind win, but definitely unfortunate to lose that game, being up an exchange. And also for the match after that, it was, I mean, a draw would have been enough. In hindsight, of course, you never know that. But that game is probably going to haunt Lawrence for at least yesterday night. And the last board was also a bit shaky for us. In the end, this was a draw. Germany lost 2.5 against Hungary. Yeah, quite a level match. So things can happen. It was decided on the last board. All right, so let's have a look at the standings. Actually, I didn't have a look at this before yet, which is important though. Yeah, as I guessed, France was able to win the match against Italy, which puts them in front of them. So that was a key match for the whole tournament. And I think it's going to be head-to-head between France and Italy for the overall standings. I mean, Czech Republic, I guess, and Switzerland still do have some chances as well to catch up. But I think that France and Italy are just the strongest teams in the tournament. I don't think there's much doubt against that. Austria is on the 6th rank with 4 points. We should acknowledge the performance of Lukas Dotzer, who we are also going to have a look at his game from yesterday, but the rest of the team did not really find into the tournament just yet. And since it's a team tournament, it's not enough if one board is winning almost all of the games. At least 2 players have to win all of the games to make it to make it more successful for the team. All right, so let's continue with the games which I want to show you. Now, first of all, I wanted to show one game out of the women's section, and then we're going to check out Lukas Dotzer's nice win from yesterday. This was Slovenia against Slovakia, and why I wanted to show this game was out of a couple of reasons. First of all, it was a nice attacking win, but secondly, the Zuckertod was played. And if you have been following this channel for some time, I did make a video, actually 3 videos, on a complete d4 repertoire for white, where I also based the whole repertoire on the Zuckertord, which is a very easy to learn weapon. You always choose kind of the same setup. And as we will see in this game, it is quite venomous and not as harmless as it may appear on the first glance. I mean, you are locking in your bishop on c1 and nothing much is happening in the center for now. But as we will see, white actually does have quite a few nice plans to play on the king side. If you want to check out this repertoire, you can find it on my channel. It's a full 1d4 repertoire from the white side, covering all major systems and also sidelines. Yeah, you can find it on my channel. All right, so this is all very standard. White goes for this b3 fianchetto. Black played knight bd7, bishop b2, c5. And here is where it starts to get interesting with this move knight e5. This is typically what white is aiming for, and then to develop with knight d2 and often f4, and then very often also queen f3, queen h3, launching an attack on the king side. Black played queen c7. In general, I should add that I'm not so sure that the setup with knight d7 is the best. Usually the knight is on a bit of a better square on c6, so what often happens is also something like this, where then also at some point black has ideas to play the move knight b4. But also here, the white plan is kind of similar. You'll still continue in the same fashion with f4, but here black has some ideas with knight e7 later on, which could help with the defense of the king side as well. Anyway, so this was played in the game, and now a6, a move which I'm not so sure of. I mean, obviously, if black can get b5 and then maybe c4, it is an achievement, but it also does appear to be a little bit slow. Now white took on d7 quite quickly, which is not a move which I would consider generally, but she had a very concrete idea behind it, which makes it an interesting idea. There is also nothing wrong with the more solid or more logical move knight d2, just developing first. And anyway, if black goes for b5 here, then I think white could have done the same like in the game to take on d7, which maybe gives white an even better version. But after knight takes d7, bishop takes d7 was played, which is the most logical recapture, but this appears to be a mistake already. Black should recapture with a knight, and here the whole point is that after dc5 there is no more bishop takes f6 later on. Still, like the line which the engine is giving is actually quite funny here, bishop f6. But, you know, there should not be checkmate. I mean, black can even take here, and I don't think that white has anything better than perpetual here. Because, for example, knight e4, take, and there's just perpetual here. I'm not so sure what white was intending after knight d7 in this position. So I don't think these sacrifices should work here. I mean, this would be another typical idea here, just in general, to take here and take on g7, kind of similar to the game, which actually might not be such a bad idea, because this appears to be quite dangerous. King h8 here, well, there might still be f5 and rook h3, queen h7. Maybe there's nothing more than a draw here. Black does have 2 pieces on the rook for the queen. Yeah, that also looks like an interesting idea here, but yeah, there is no bishop takes c5, so here it appears to be a better version for black. Like what happened in the game was that black took back with a bishop, and now d takes c5, and now bishop takes c5 was actually already the losing move. I think the computer said that bishop e7 needs to be played here, but of course now white could also try to hang on to the pawn on c5. Black might not win it back, but this is still the only move that is fairly playable. Because bishop takes c5, which was played in the game, now runs into bishop takes f6. Black does have an intermediate check, but there's king h1, g takes f6, and now the whole idea of this operation, bishop takes h7. And king takes h7, queen h5 check, and here black is just getting checkmated. Rook f3 came, bishop takes f4, rook h3 check, bishop h6, and now queen f4, and here queen h4, and now black resigned because queen f4 doesn't do anything. White can just take here, and yeah, black is getting mated. So a nice miniature game, and a very typical idea. There's this very famous one, I don't know if it was a Lasker game or something. If you guys know what I mean, let me know in the comments down below, where the same motive was played. I think their opponent d2 was even still there. I think it was a bird opening with 1f4. But there is also the same idea to take on h7 and then on g7. In this case, it was to take on f6, but the whole idea is quite prevalent in the whole line, and therefore I wanted to show this one. All right, so let's go to the before mentioned game between Austria and the Czech Republic. Luka's now on a great path to his final GM norm. I think he's on 4.5 out of 5, which is quite an impressive score. And here he won also a great attacking game against the Czech board number 1, whose name I will not even dare or try to pronounce correctly. It was a French with knight f6, e5, knight d7, the so-called Steinitz variation, and black opted for the very forcing line with c takes d4, knight takes d4, now queen b6. I did play the French myself against Lukas in the Austrian Championship last year, where he went for the move bishop g5. Later on, I equalized, but then he was able to win that game eventually against me in that tournament. So this time he opted for the Steinitz, which I don't think he usually plays that often, at least when I prepared against him. I don't recall seeing that many games of him here. But still, he came with an idea in this line, which is rook b1, queen a3, bishop b5. This is all still more or less forcing theory here. Knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, now a6. And now the main line is to take on d7. And after bishop takes d7, I think rook b3, queen e7, rook b7, and now there should be two moves, queen d8 or queen h4 check, and after g3 only then queen d8 back. This is the main line, where white also has quite a few different interesting ideas to try out, but if black is very well prepared here, nothing bad should be happening to him if they know all of the different ideas. It is still quite a dangerous position because white has a nice control over the dark squares, and black's king is stuck in the center for now. And white often has ideas to play f5, similar to what happened in the game. Lukas played the line with rook b3, which I analyzed some 2 years ago or something, where it was still more new. Now, in the meantime, there are already a couple of games. There is one which I remember, I think Hungarian grandmaster Ferenc Berkes was playing there, or there was some Martinovic game who already some 4 years ago, who found the correct line here for black. It is a draw by force, more or less, if they know it. But it's not so simple. So the idea now after queen e7 is actually not to take on d7, because now it would only give black the extra option to take with the queen, not giving away the pawn on b7. But instead the idea is to go for the move bishop a4, which first of all looks like it is dropping a piece because of b5, but this is actually not working well here, because white can take and then take on b5. And now if queen d8, there is this important move here, queen c3, and now black cannot really stop the move knight c7 coming in. Black did not know this move and went for the move g6, which is definitely something white can be quite happy seeing. As far as I remember, black should play queen d8 or queen h4 check first here. And I think that the line then goes something like this here. White could repeat the moves with bishop f2, queen d8, bishop b6. But I believe there was some line like this where black can now play queen g4 or queen h3. And this should be one line here. Knight e4. Now if d takes e4, there should be rook c3. When rook takes c8 is unavoidable, followed by queen d7 mate. Or bishop takes e7, winning a lot of material. So now it should be bishop e7, and there was some line like this, take, b5. I think this was also one of the games which I've mentioned before. Let me see in the lichess book here. It was actually, what I meant was Lupulescu against Tomczak, or the other way around. That was the stem game I meant, which was already played in 2022. And here there should be a draw somewhere. I think it's knight takes e5. How did they do it? Knight takes e5, f takes e5 was played, queen e4 check, and yeah, this was how the game ended in a repetition. So this is probably the best way for both sides to play this line. I think there are also other ideas for white to keep playing. For example, here instead of fe5, there were some queen b4 ideas. Maybe this is also what could be tried here. Generally, black's position, of course, is quite dangerous. I mean, with the king being stuck here. So in this whole line, you're just purely relying on computer analysis. This is why I don't really like to play this line myself from the black side, because it's just a one move mix up and then you can be in big trouble. The same also in the main line with bishop d7. Also there it's not entirely easy. Yeah, so black should go for queen d8 or queen h4 here, but black did go for the move g6. Still black is up a pawn. Short castle was played, bishop g7, and now bishop takes d7, which appears to be the correct move. Queen takes d7, if black takes here, then at least white can win back the pawn, and then some rook fb1 could come with some pressure on the 7th rank. So queen takes d7 was played, bishop c5. And now queen c6 was not favored by the engine here. b5 should be played immediately, and then try to exchange his bishop with bishop f8. But also here, I mean, white definitely has fantastic compensation. Maybe black can be fine here, but even if the knight reaches d4, it's always this good knight against bad bishop scenario. All of the dark squares are weak on the king side, so I'm not sure that I would still really love this position from the black side. But black started with queen c6, queen d4, bishop f8, and tried to do it like this, but now the problem was that rook b6 was also coming in, and now there's just no chance for black to finish the development. And on top of that, Lucas now was able to find this move f5, which makes matters even worse for black. Because if the pawn reaches f6, the king will always be weak and black cannot coordinate at all. And taking also has some drawbacks. Black in the game took with the g-pawn. If he takes with the e-pawn, then I can just take on d5, then e6 will come next, and black can probably resign already in this position. So g takes f5 was played, and now the whole point of this was knight takes d5. Also played by Lucas, and e takes d5, now e6. And there is just no defense here against white's attack. Black tried the move rook g8, which is probably still the best option. Otherwise, I can just take the rook here. E takes f7, and now the move rook g7. And still, all of this needed to be calculated, because now rook e1 appears to be an important move. Otherwise, black might be able to defend somehow, maybe take with the king next. But here, after rook e1, well, if you take with the king in this position, then I can just go queen f6 check and rook e8 mate. Or rook f6, doesn't really matter. This is just going to be over. So black tried bishop d7, and now another important move, queen to b4 check. Now it gets quite forcing. Black needs to take on f7, now rook e7 check. Rook also enters the game, king g8, take on g7, and now the final idea, queen e7 check. Important line to consider, because now white only has 2 attackers left, but black has no defenders, which makes the attack winning for white. King g8, and now the final important move, rook h6. And now h7 is dropping. So I'm quite curious how far Lucas calculated here when he played the move f5. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing his tactical vision, that he even saw the whole line when he played f5. I would not be surprised that he saw all of this until the very end with rook h6. So that was some impressive calculation. Of course, it is also possible to make this decision kind of based on intuition, but as I said, I wouldn't be surprised that he would be able to see all of that. So rook h6 now. The move queen d8 was played, queen h7 check, king f8, and now after rook g6, black resigned because there's no way to stop rook g8 check coming next. So very nice attacking game. I think basically flawless from the white side. Black, of course, was not familiar with the line, should have known either queen d8 or queen h4, but after that, yeah, nice game by the Austrian board number 1. Still, yeah, the match, as I said, unfortunately ended 2-2 for us, but hopefully Austria is going to be able to strike back or continue winning in today's round. Actually, who is Austria playing today? Let me quickly check that. Let's go back to chess results. Pairings for today. That's interesting. Italy against Austria. That's going to be an exciting match to follow. And Luca Moroni is playing once again. So that's going to be an interesting pairing. Moroni against Dotzer to follow. And yeah, also the other boards are kind of level. It's going to be an interesting match to follow. I don't think that Austria is necessarily the underdog in the match. Like, if you look at the rating, not so much. Maybe a little bit in favor of Italy, but definitely not by a big margin. And yeah, the other match which is important for the overall standings is going to be Slovakia against France, where France, of course, is the favorite, but also not the match which is like 100% clear, because especially their first three boards of Slovakia, they can play quite solid, especially Družka and Sahidi. So I'm really curious to follow both of these matches in today's round, which is round number 6, which is starting at 2 p.m. local time. And as usual, I'm going to be back tomorrow for the round 6 recap, hopefully with good news for Team Austria, who is playing against Italy today. So thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of me, head to the video description down below, where you can find information on my other socials, Instagram, Twitter, and so on, and my website, felixburberger.com, as well as some of the courses which I've published and which you can purchase and hopefully learn from them. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.